Okay, so for this deep dive, we're looking at something uh, a bit different but really fascinating. It's source material from a novel called Gingerbread.
Right. And what's amazing is it's all first person. We're literally inside the head of this teenager, Cyd Charisse.
Exactly. And while it is a novel, the way she narrates her life, her thoughts, her relationships, it feels incredibly authentic. You get this raw, unfiltered look.
Yeah, it's like having a direct line as she's figuring out family, who she is, dealing with some pretty heavy stuff that's happened.
And that's our focus today. Cyd's a teenager. She's just come back home to San Francisco from boarding school. She's got past troubles kind of hanging over her, a complicated family.
Yeah.
She's trying to navigate it all.
So our mission here is to really unpack Cyd's world, but only using her perspective, her words from these excerpts. What do we learn about her journey, her conflicts, her identity, just from what she tells us?
Right. What does her way of seeing things reveal? Let's dive in. First stop, San Francisco. She's back home in this room she calls her princess bedroom, which she clearly doesn't like.
No, not at all. And she's immediately dealing with her mother, Nancy. What picture does Cyd paint of Nancy?
Oh, Nancy's definitely presented as a specific type, always redecorating. Cyd notes this kind of awkwardness around things like contraception, thinks her mom's a bit clueless.
And the dieting thing, the sighing instead of eating.
Yeah, that detail says so much. Plus, Cyd mentions Nancy seems kind of scared of the staff, like Layla, and has that Minnesota accent she tries to hide.
Yeah.
It's a very critical teenage perspective, but full of these sharp observations.
And it's not just mom and Cyd, it's a blended family setup, right?
Right. There's Cyd dad, Nancy's husband, but not Cyd's biological father. And interestingly, Cyd's first name is Sydney, same as his.
Huh. Okay. And then the half-siblings, Josh and Ashley.
Yeah, they had a whole other dynamic. Josh's hypo boy drives Nancy nuts. But Cyd, she has this connection with him. Apparently, she's the only one who can get him quiet and calm at night.
That's interesting. So she has a calming effect on him?
Seems like it. And then there's Ashley, or Ash. Cyd calls her the Pudge. So she's 6, going on 16, a gutter-mouthed angel face.
Huh. Quite the description.
Totally. And Cyd seems really protective of Ash. They have secret tea parties, dance together. Cyd actively defends her when Nancy gets fixated on Ash's weight. It shows Cyd in this older sister, almost caretaker role, even with her own stuff going on.
It's fascinating, too, how she seems more comfortable, or at least observant, with the household staff. Fernando and Layla?
Yeah, Fernando the driver, she knows his grandson had leukemia. And Layla, who helps her out sometimes, Nancy thinks she's French, but Cyd knows she's French-Canadian.
And Cyd sees Nancy's total lack of awareness about their real lives, doesn't she?
Absolutely. It highlights this disconnect. Yeah. Nancy sees staff. Cyd seems to see people with stories, like Fernando's family worries.
Okay, so setting the scene. But why is Cyd back home in the first place? It wasn't just for summer break.
No, exactly. She mentions, almost casually, a little shoplifting problem, and that resulted in court-ordered community service.
Ah, okay. So that's the catalyst for her being back, and that little problem. I suspect it connects to something bigger we learn about later.
You got it. It's the thread that pulls us back to boarding school, to a really difficult experience.
Mm.
But it also leads her through the community service to 2 really crucial people back in SF.
Shrimp and sugar pie. Let's talk about them. They feel so central to this part of her story. How does she meet Shrimp?
It was at Sugar Pie's nursing home where she's doing the service. He was just walking by singing Take the A Train. Instant connection.
And how does Cyd describe him? What's he like?
Physically, spiked hair, blue eyes, shorter than her, especially when she wears platforms, she notes. But personality-wise, he's her safety boy, all heart. She says, like, 3 half-calf macchiatos later, Shrimp was my main man.
Wow, fast friends. Sounds like a real anchor for her.
Totally. They listen to disco in his old Pinto.
Yeah.
It's this comfortable, supportive relationship. And later, he starts working a job at the Hut, which becomes important too.
Okay, and sugar pie. The woman at the nursing home. It starts as mandatory service, but turns into more.
Much more. Cyd explicitly says, now I come because I love sugar. Sugar Pie can't see well, but her hearing is sharp, and she just gets people. She used to be a psychic, a tarot reader.
And she has her own tragic backstory, right, with her twin sister and fiancé.
You know, Honey Pie and the fiance died in a car crash just after eloping. Sugar Pie had a dog named Honey, too. So loss is part of her story. But she's incredibly perceptive about Cyd.
How does that play out, her perceptiveness?
Well, she immediately senses something about Shrimp, calls him Cyd's star, and she does this tarot reading for Cyd.
Ah, the tarot reading. What does she see?
It's pretty intense. She sees a future with Shrimp, but also mentions new people coming in, old ones coming back, and hints it might not be forever with him. And then, crucially,
Yes.
Sugar Pie shares her own secret. She was pregnant after her sister and fiancé died, but she didn't go through with it.
Wow. That's huge, especially given Cyd's own hidden story.
Exactly. That shared vulnerability is massive. And Sugar Pie gives her this piece of advice. Need to lose a person to find yourself. It sort of hangs there as this guiding, maybe confusing piece of wisdom for Cyd.
That bond sounds incredibly deep, a real lifeline. But okay, let's talk about that shadow hanging over her, the past, boarding school, and specifically Justin.
Right. The ex-boyfriend. Cyd's description is blunt, always stoned, lacrosse player, body of a god.
So, attractive, but maybe not the best influence.
As putting it mildly, Cyd admits she was basically a whore for popularity. She liked being his girlfriend, being somebody. She put up with the drugs, the sneaking out, the shoplifting for munchies, all for the status.
And this ties into the little problemo she mentioned earlier.
Directly. The core issue, the thing that haunts her, is that she got pregnant by Justin while at boarding school.
Oh, okay. And how did Justin handle that news?
Terribly. According to Cyd, he offered zero support. No money, no dinero, she says. He'd promised to help but never came through.
So she dealt with it alone.
Completely alone. She describes going to the clinic by herself. And the source draws this really stark contrast. The cab driver who took her home showed more concern than Justin, who apparently skipped it to play lacrosse.
That's devastating. Just completely abandoned her.
Yeah, and that isolation, that specific day, is clearly a major trauma for her. That's why she ended up shoplifting, why she's back home doing community service. It all connects back to that.
And the impact is ongoing, right? He's still trying to contact her.
Yep. She mentions Justin still tries to call, but she has Layla run interference, stop giving her the messages. You can feel how deep that wound is, how much she's still processing the loneliness of that experience.
It absolutely makes sense then that she develops these really elaborate ways of coping. Those commune fantasies or something else.
Aren't they? So vivid.
Fatiri.
Siberia, Greenwich Village.
Huh.
She maps out entire worlds. Straw huts, purple clay, artists, dolphins, but ethical dolphins, no exploitation.
Right. And Sugar Pie gets a special room in Tahiti with a graffiti-tagged satellite dish.
Exactly. And in Siberia, it's coffee glues, iced coffee igloos, ghost stories, fur hats, borscht. She even weaves in things like Stalin's camps, rainbow flags, and Margaret charm bracelets.
Michelangelo cakes, punk rock, a reverse Wonder Woman island. It's this incredible mix of escape, desire, maybe processing trauma.
I think so. It feels like her building spaces where she's safe, where she belongs, where she can maybe imagine being a different kind of person, someone strong, someone inspirational, or just someone connected.
And she has other ways of escaping, too, like the job for a day game she plays with shrimp.
Yeah, that's lighter, more playful. They pretend to be. Like a bellman, a short order cook, a toll taker, the voicemail lady.
The Pop-Tarts art director for Brown Sugar Cinnamon.
Ah, yeah. Or the Seas Candy lady. It's them exploring possibilities together, just having fun and stepping outside themselves for a bit.
But then there's the Helen Keller practice. That sounds darker.
It does. This is when she's grounded, her Alcatraz phase. She puts on a blindfold, earplugs, clutches her doll, Gingerbread, and just walks around her room.
Why? What's the idea there?
She says she's trying to become inspirational, learning to suffer without sight or sound. But it really just screams isolation, boredom, maybe a way of acting out how trapped she feels. She calls it the speak no evil, see no evil, hear no evil commune. It's pretty bleak.
Wow. Okay, so amid all this internal stuff, the actual San Francisco summer is happening. She gets a job.
Yes, at Java the Hut where shrimp works. This feels like a step towards independence.
How do the parents take it? Cyd Dad and Nancy.
Predictably different reactions. Cyd Dad is apparently pleased, thinks it'll straighten the little hellion out. Nancy, not so much. She disapproves, even sends Fernando in the Mercedes to pick Cyd up sometimes. Very focused on appearances.
And at Java the Hut, her world expands a bit more. She meets Wallace and Delia.
Right. Wallace works there too. Surfs, vegetarian, lives with shrimp. And Delia is Wallace's girlfriend from Alaska. Teaches modern dance, husky voice, new people, new dynamics.
And Cyd develops a bit of a crush on Wallace, even though he's with Delia and Shrimp's roommate.
Yeah, she has a Wallace fantasy. But she has this interesting thought that it's okay to love two brothers, referring to Shrimp, but not at the same time. It shows she's navigating these new feelings, but still recognizes the depth of her bond with Shrimp.
Okay, but this summer of relative freedom comes to a crashing halt after a party, right? This summer solstice party.
Yep. Cyd stays out all night. Nancy, initially, is distracted by her own party and doesn't freak out. But later, Cyd Dad finds out she stayed at that boy's house, meaning Shrimp's.
And the hammer comes down.
Big time. Grounded like ever. Can't work at Java the Hutt. Visits to Sugar Pie are restricted, though Fernando apparently helps argue for some visits, which is interesting.
Fernando's revenge. Cleaning bathrooms at the nursing home.
That's the one. And she loses access to her Emancipation Lawyer Fund money. It's a total lockdown.
And the vibe at home.
Awful. Like a mortuary, she says. Everyone's whispering, being overly nice because they're afraid I would totally go postal. And she's banned from seeing Shrimp until school starts. Back to square one, feeling totally isolated.
Which feels like the perfect setup for the next major event, the trip to New York. Why now? Why do Nancy and Cyd decide this is the moment to meet the bio dad, Frank?
Well, the sources suggest it's their idea. Nancy thinks it might be a good thing for her, help her move on. Frank is a widower now. He's been in touch, wants her to visit. It feels a bit like maybe they hope this trip will fix things somehow.
So Cyd heads to NYC. What's her initial reaction? Is it what she expected?
Not really. She feels out of place, scared, like a total stranger. The weather's all wrong. Hot, humid August. Not cool SF summer. The city itself feels like a sci-fi madness kingdom. Very alienating.
And she's picked up by Louis, Frank's employee.
Yeah. Tall, Puerto Rican, insane, sexy accent, she notes. And he first thinks she's Frank's niece. Suggests maybe her existence isn't common knowledge around Frank.
Frank doesn't meet her at the airport himself.
Nope. Cyd wonders if he's scared because she looks so much like him. She waits hours with Louis. When Frank finally shows, she sees the resemblance minus tan, plus smiles, taller. He calls her partner. Seems awkward.
What's he like? Her first impression.
Smells like cigars and martinis, just like Cyd Dad. He gives her delivery menus with $50 attached. She throws the money away. He avoids the past at first, calls her pretty together. The menus themselves show this whole different world of food compared to Nancy's house.
But then she meets her half-brother, Danny. That connection is different.
Oh, totally different. Instant kapow. Danny knew about her, was dying to see her. He's adorable, looks like her, and isn't mad at all. He always wanted a sister. Plus, he's a baker. Co-owns the Village Idiots Cafe with his boyfriend, Aaron. Sounds like Cyd's kind of place.
And Danny fills her in on the family history, from their side.
Yeah, he lays it out. Frank and Nancy's affair, the pregnancy, Nancy expecting marriage, Frank wanting to bite his difficult mother, refusing a divorce. Frank becoming a workaholic womanizer. Danny also talks about his own complex relationship with his controlling mother, who eventually accepted Aaron before she died.
Cyd sees Danny as an inspiration for navigating all that.
Yes, because he's not bitter, he's accepted his family, he seems well-adjusted despite the drama.
Okay, so Danny is a win. What about the half-sister, Lisbeth? Or Rhonda, as she's sometimes called. Danny warned she was having a harder time.
Yeah, Elizabeth uses her middle name. Danny called her special, meaning angry and rigid, maybe like her mom. Cyd's first impression, Nellie Olson version. Very negative. Confrontational style seems tightly wound.
But there was something interesting about her briefcase contents, a hint of something more.
Right. Hidden behind a serious Gotha book cover, she finds Forgiving Our Fathers and Chicken Soup for the Soul, plus business stuff, makeup. But Cyd notes, no condoms, and a card from someone named Paulo. It suggests Elizabeth has her own struggles, her own attempts at self-improvement maybe. Makes her more complex than just angry.
And they actually connect, despite the rough start.
They do, slowly. Elizabeth brings Cyd this vintage Chinese dress that belonged to their grandmother, Molly.
Tell me about Grandma Molly. Sounds like she was something else.
Oh, yeah. Tall, looked like Cyd, apparently. Ran a liquor joint, married 5 times. Cursed, smoked, sharp businesswoman. Frank is supposedly terrified Cyd takes after her.
And when Lisbeth sees Cyd in the dress...
There seems to be a moment. Elizabeth admits Cyd looks like Molly, says Frank should be terrified. She softens up, says maybe Cyd isn't so bad after all. They go shoe shopping, talk about fashion differences. Elizabeth even vents about her bad dating luck. A thaw begins.
While navigating the family, Cyd finds a real haven at Danny and Aaron's cafe, Village Idiots.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's described as medieval, gothic, cool neighborhood, total opposite of Frankland. And Cyd fits right in. Turns out she's a great barista.
Really? They recognize her skills.
Totally. Aaron calls her a godsend, asks, where have you been all our lives? She loves the vibe, Danny's wild cakes, the amazing coffee. It feels like a genuinely safe, fun, accepting space for her. Surrounded by gorgeous guys, being appreciated for her skills.
That sounds great, but she also pushes some boundaries, right, with Louis?
She's definitely attracted NBA-size blank, struggles to concentrate. and she initiates making out with him on the sofa.
How does that feel for her? Is it fulfilling?
Mixed bag. Physically, hormones were digging it, but emotionally, she feels sleazy. She specifically notes it's not kissing of the soul kissing, and it actually makes her miss shrimp more. It highlights the difference between physical attraction and real connection for her.
And then they get caught.
Yep, by Lisbeth, who walks in and delivers the perfect line. Well, I guess the apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
Ouch. How does Louis react?
Panics. Oh shit, I'm outie. This family basically runs away.
And Cyd and Lisbeth, another showdown.
Pretty much. A staring match. Cyd calls her Rhonda defiantly.
Yeah.
They talk about Louis. Even though Elizabeth is mad, she kind of grudgingly respects Cyd's taste, saying, I'll give you that about Louis being hot. Another layer to their weird sister thing.
Okay, so family drama, testing boundaries. But NYC also brings other encounters. She looks for Louis at a place called Miss Loretta's.
Yeah, based on one of Frank's menus. Doesn't find Louis, but meets Miss Loretta, an older baker.
Another wise older woman figure, like sugar pie.
Seems like it. Miss Loretta gives her advice about growing up, moving on, compliments Danny's cakes but says her gingerbread is better, gives Cyd a free gingerbread cake, and mentions having space for a doll like Cyd's. Another moment of connection and wisdom.
And then the big one, the run-in with Justin.
Totally unexpected. She's at the Gap, shopping with Lisbeth, and there he is, wearing his snooty prep school lacrosse shirt. Lisbeth, clueless, is like, oh, you know each other.
Oh, man. What does Cyd say? What happens?
She just looks at him and says it. You let me go there all alone. Just lays it out. The source notes the weight of it and her own internal thought about how she still slept with him after that.
How does Justin react?
Looks away, mumbles, sorry. Then asks awkwardly if she's moving back to Frisco. Total deflection.
And Cyd afterwards. How does she process that?
She feels utterly drained, tired. Doesn't tell Frank or Lisbeth, even though Lisbeth offers to listen. She feels completely alone again, reflecting that the only time she felt more alone was the day she took the cab home from the clinic. It brings it all flooding back.
And it makes her reflect on who she was back then.
Exactly. Why she was with him, liking the popularity, being somebody, tolerating the bad stuff. She contrasts that person, yuck, she thinks, with who she is now. It's a painful but maybe necessary confrontation with her past self.
But this whole difficult NYC trip seems to actually pave the way for some breakthroughs back with her San Francisco family, Nancy calls her.
Yeah, and Cyd is surprised that she actually misses Nancy. He feels happy to hear her voice. A definite shift in Cyd's feelings, despite everything.
And then Nancy actually comes to New York. What happens then? This feels pivotal.
It is. Nancy arrives, flips her usual switch, forgets the fights, big hug, looking perfect. But then Nancy mentions that Lisbeth told Frank about Cyd running into Justin and being upset.
Oh. So Frank knows something happened.
Right, and hearing that, Cyd just goes cold, and then she says it out loud to Nancy. He let me go alone, and clarifies, the clinic.
Wow. The big secret is out. How does Nancy react? Cyd must have been bracing herself.
She was expecting yelling. But Nancy, she goes pale, tears up, pulls Cyd close, rocks her, and they both cry. And Nancy calls Justin that little schmuck.
Whoa, not the expected reaction at all.
Not even close.
Yeah.
Afterwards, Nancy is calm, takes Cyd's hands, says, you should have told me. I could have helped you. Cyd can barely believe it, but Nancy insists, you are my child, and I am here to help you, to protect you.
That's incredibly powerful, a real turning point.
Huge. Nancy says she is mad, but focuses on practical support, gynecologist, family counselor. And she tells Cyd to never be scared to ask for help with her health or body, that she'll always be there. Cyd is stunned. It's the opposite of what she expected.
And does this opening up extend to Cyd, Dad?
It does. He comes up, Cyd hugs him. She asks what she was like as a kid. He's this fun, sweet, naughty, like Ash and Josh, but quieter. And then this really touching exchange. Cyd says, I must have really needed a dad. And Cyd Dad replies, I needed a daughter just as much.
Oh, wow. Real connection there, too.
Definitely. Acknowledging their bond, their found family.
So, with this new honesty, they talk about the future. Cyd's plans. Or lack thereof.
Yeah, Cyd tells them she doesn't want college, she wants to be a barista, maybe own a cafe. Cyd Dad's initial reaction is no way. Classic dad.
But they compromise.
They do. For senior year, half-day school, work study at his company cafeteria, learning the business side, volunteering at sugar pies, and maybe junior college later, if she wants. She can take the bus, but no appeasing Fernando about sugar pie, acknowledging he's a friend and valuable. It's a plan that respects her interests, but adds structure.
And there was one more piece of news from SF about shrimp.
Yes. This is important. Turns out, while Cyd was gone, Shrimp went to see Cyd and Nancy
Really? What for?
to set the record straight.
Yeah.
He took responsibility for his part in whatever happened that got Cyd grounded,
Yeah.
called them both young and stupid. And apparently it worked. Nancy actually called him Shrimp, not that boy. And Cyd had confirmed they were off probation.
Wow, Shrimp really stepped up. That must have meant a lot.
Huge. Shows his character, and it clearly changed how her parents saw him.
So, after all this intensity, Cyd has a final dinner in NYC with Frank, Danny, Lisbeth, wearing Grandma Molly's dress. How does she frame that moment?
She describes it as seeing what we would be like as a real family. It ties right back to her jigsaw puzzle idea, needing these pieces, the Frank family, the NYC experience, Rhonda, Daniel, her real father, to feel complete.
Does she feel like she got closure with Frank?
Not exactly octopus hugs, as she puts it. There's progress. He admits he thought about her. They talk about his past with Nancy, him saying he loved your mother. Cyd's skeptical. He talks money, trust funds, justifies not being in touch. It's not perfect, but it's something. A step.
And Lisbeth, that relationship seems more solidly changed.
For sure. The dress, the shopping, the talking, the support after Justin.
Yeah.
There's a real connection forming there. From Nellie Olson to an actual sister.
And the Village Idiots Cafe with Danny and Aaron remains this solid, positive anchor from the trip.
Definitely. Aaron saying, I'm so glad you came here, Cece, that acceptance is huge. It's like a model for the kind of belonging she wants. So how has her view of her San Francisco family shifted through all this?
It's definitely evolved. The reconciliation with Nancy and Cyd, the compromise plan for her future, Shrimp being accepted. Things aren't magically fixed, but there's more honesty, more understanding. She seems to be finding ways to belong in both her worlds.
And she revisits the commune fancy one last time. How has it changed?
It's grounded now. It's a gingerbread cafe fantasy set in SF. Gingerbread the doll runs it. The Bio family visits for holidays. Danny and Aaron have secret access. Her dreams are integrating her reality now, pulling all the pieces together.
And that final line the sources give us, I am samurai girl. What's the significance there, do you think?
It feels like a declaration, doesn't it? After everything, the trauma, the secrets, the family chaos, the new connections, the confrontations, she's found some strength. Maybe not fully formed yet, but she's claiming an identity. Samurai girl. A warrior who's been through it and is still standing, maybe even ready for the next battle.
Wow. Okay. That really pulls it all together. What a journey we've traced through Cyd's perspective in these sources, from this isolated kid hiding secrets and escaping into fantasy.
Yeah, to someone who started to build real connections, face down some demons, reconcile with family, both biological and chosen, and is really starting to figure out where she fits.
And the people who helped her get there are such a mix. Sugar Pie's wisdom, Shrimp's steady presence, Danny and Aaron's acceptance, Lisbeth's surprising evolution.
And her parents, Nancy and Cyd, stepping up in ways Cyd and maybe we didn't expect. It really underscores that family and support can come from complicated places.
Absolutely. Her story really makes you think, doesn't it? About what makes a family, how secrets shape us, how finding yourself is often about piecing together things from all over the place.
Definitely. It shows how sharing those secrets, however painful, can actually be the key to connection.
So here's something for you, our listener, to maybe chew on. Cyd's journey really highlights how keeping big secrets can fence us off from others, and maybe even from understanding ourselves. How do you think secrecy, keeping secrets, or sharing them impacts our ability to form genuine connections, both with the people around us and with who we really are inside?